Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB Bikini Pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Today, we speak with a woman who I just had the pleasure of meeting at Lauren Adams' Ascend Posing Clinic and Seminar. And when we met, we decided she needed to come on the podcast. And this athlete has always had a passion for the gym. And when she stepped on stage for the first time, she knew she was where she belonged. She recently received her IFBB Bikini Pro title at Nationals in 2024 after competing for a little over a year. Prior to earning her pro card, she received all top 3 finishes in regionals and had a 14th place finish at Universe just 5 months before earning that title, which is really amazing. I'm excited to hear about that. And she's now planning to make a pro debut this fall. And before competing, she earned her bachelor's degree in neuroscience. But with her love for the sport, she wants to inspire and help others find their love for this sport too, and get so much fulfillment from her posing coaching business, and is currently planning to offer lifestyle and competition coaching soon. So welcome to the show, Alyssa Frietchen. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm happy to see you and have you on. And, I got to ask this question. I ask everybody this before we get into everything. So, is there anything you do or think about, or maybe a ritual you have right before your heel hits the stage?
Dance it out. Dance it out.
Really?
Absolutely. And this is something my mom taught me at a very young age. We've always done it. And honestly, you can ask any girl that has competed on stage with me. They all know who I am because I immediately look at the line and I said, who wants to dance it out with me? We're all nervous. We're all we all have the jitters. I don't go through my routine again. I don't freak. I literally just look at everyone and we all just start dancing. And some girls will dance with me, actually.
That's awesome.
Shaking it out, and I've always done that with everything that I've always done, and I love it.
The good thing about dancing it out is not just it takes you out of the fixated thought process of I'm about to get on stage, and that can be an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
But it also keeps your body warm, which is good for that pump staying there, looking good, getting into you get in that flow state. Now, granted, I'm not saying I'm about to go dance backstage. So sometimes I could be silly and other times I'm talkative, and sometimes I'm just
Yeah.
it really depends. But it's cool that your mom taught you that from a young age.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that makes it easier and less stressful getting up there, but it also connects you to the other athletes at the same time. And I'm always the type of person that tells everyone else I'm complimenting other people's suits and talking to girls in line. Yes, it's a competition, but it doesn't have to be ugly. We're all here. We can't control what the judges think, and we're all like-minded, so we might as well all be friends. And that's so before stage, I'm honestly just yapping, talking, and making friends.
I think that's great. Yeah, that's something I think a lot of people benefit from seeing too in this sport. It really is a supportive environment. Even if you watch the Olympia or the Arnold, you see everybody is so happy for each other, cheering, clapping, because we all know that it's anybody's game really on that day. And it's up to the judges at that point. So why not support each other? If you see a girl's suit is off of where her tan line is, you should tell her, or her hair is not sitting exactly right, or it's stuck in something, you should tell her. I think as an athlete, as a competitor, you not only want to compete against everybody at their best, so there's no question about why the person who won, but you also want to see the people who love this lifestyle and are doing it because they love it succeed on that day.
Oh, I agree 100%. Yeah. I've had girls fix my flyaways, or if if your tie isn't tight enough or it's not the right spot, we're always posing for each other, making sure we look good. And yeah, I think that's just how it should go. I'm still friends with a lot of the athletes that I was on stage with or competed with. And like whenever I'm in the city, like making lists with them or just texting. And it's good to know people in the community of the sport. That's like so helpful.
Oh, for sure. And since you had an interesting journey, like it was very quick, I want to talk about that journey because you had a 14th place at Universe, and then only 5 months later, you won your pro card. So walk us through those 5 months and how you delivered on feedback to ultimately get the pro status.
Yeah, so honestly, I have an amazing coach, and I am so grateful and blessed for him and his wife. They work together. I literally call them mom and dad. That's who they are to me.
Oh.
They take care of me, and my parents, they live in Ohio still. So when I'm here in Wilmington, they're my family, and they are local, which is very helpful. But I started working with them at my first show of that season, which was in June, and it was, you could call it one season, you could call it two. I don't know. I guess between that Universe and my next regional show, it was like a little bit of an off season. We did the reverse a little bit. Um, but honestly, there was like a whole mindset shift from
Hmm.
the nationals. The first time I stepped on a national show, it was kind of just like, okay, like we're here, we're going to get here, we're going to see what happens. And I mean, that's always my mindset, but I just kind of, I knew I needed to grow. I knew I needed to change some things. And my stage presence was not where it needed to be. Like my first show in June, it was local. That wasn't my first show ever, but of the season, I got so nervous. And I mean, my first show
Hmm.
ever, I wasn't even that nervous. But because I knew so many people in the room, my cortisol rose.
Huh.
So I was inflamed everywhere. Um, I still got first in my class that show, but that was one of the shows that you place well, but you walk off stage and you're not necessarily happy with the package you brought. I always tell my coach, be honest with me, be open with me, and he looked at me after that show and said, "What happened? What happened? Like that wasn't what we practiced. That wasn't what the posing, the delivery, the whole thing." And I was just like, I don't know. I froze up. My whole body was shaking. And I think like a lot of people have that experience. I even see it at national levels where I feel so bad because there's really nothing you can do in that moment but just keep posing and hope that the shakes go away. But inevitably they just get worse. And so I kind of was like, you know what? I want to get back on stage because I can't have, I don't, I could have taken time between before nationals, but I was like, I want to get on stage, get feedback so I know exactly where to grow. But then also, I need to get rid of this anxiety I'm having because one thing about me and social anxiety, you'll never see us in the same room. Like, I'm a very social, outgoing person. So when this happened to me, I was like, oh, I don't know. I need to work on this.
Do you think it was pressure that you knew so many people, like that they were holding you to some standard, or maybe they had expectations?
I don't think it was them. It was all me. I mean, my family was there. But it was also just knowing everyone in the city as well. Like the stage was so lit up and I could see everyone in the crowd. I feel like a lot of shows you can only really see that front row. I saw
Yeah.
everyone. And it was just one of those experiences that I don't know. I hadn't been on stage in quite some time. I mean, this is still just my second show.
Yeah.
I can go over what happened in my first show, but I did not follow reverse my first show. And I basically just like did a whole nother lifestyle and then was coming back. So it was almost like I was a fresh competitor in this atmosphere. Um, that all being said, I got to Universe and I felt a lot better. However, I was holding a lot of water. My physique looked much better the day before than it looked when I got on stage. And
Mhm.
so me and my coach were kind of like, okay, like what kind of happened with the peak and why are we looking this way? Um, and so we knew we had to explore different ways to work on my peak. Everyone's a little different. And we did get feedback on our posing. We got feedback on where we needed to grow and different things like that. And Tyler basically was like, you just need growth all around. Like you are proportional, but you need to grow everywhere.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay. And, they only see what they see that day on stage. I think Sandy, she's always said that. Like, we can only see you the moment you're on stage. We can't see like the week prior or anything.
And we
And
don't know if like you're actually bigger than you look, but you just
right.
came in super flat or
And I was super flat, and I just like wasn't where I thought I was at all. That being said, from universe until I did step into a regional show before nationals because I just lived by the back to backs. I think with anxiety and everything, it helps so much. But between those shows, we did reverse for a few weeks into like a little maintenance phase where we tried to build for a few weeks. And then we got back to it and switched up my posing a bit. I ended up at that regional show looking way better. And we did do some different things. We had taken a diuretic before my first two shows, and they both led me to hold a lot of water. And I never considered it being diuretic. My coach wasn't really thinking about it. And when we kind of thought about it, we are like, maybe this has something to do with it. And so we pulled that out of the equation. I live by a shot of Tito's before stage. I live by it. I need it. I'm not gonna lie. Like my anxiety, it helps my performance so much. But yeah, so we didn't take a diuretic. We just did a little bit of Tito's, and that was that. And that changed it a lot alone. Honestly, that made me a lot drier and fuller. My I guess I also changed what I ate the night before, not by much, but I typically would eat the first couple shows. I had like a full burger, fries, that whole thing. This time around, I just did a giant steak and a big baked potato. I went to Longhorn, and I am like, if I do something and it works, like I stick to it. So when I went to nationals, I was like, we have to find Longhorn. Like we have to find a Longhorn. I don't want to go anywhere else. I need this exact meal. And it worked for me. So a combination of all of those things, I guess, was what really ultimately brought that package. And when I came in at that regional show and I talked to Jason and Mo, they kind of were like, first of all, they were like, you need hair extensions. You need hair extensions. And I was like, that is the weirdest feedback I've ever heard in my life. Like, are you serious? Because at my show at Universe, I didn't have them. At the regional show, I didn't have them. And when I was standing next to these other girls, it made my waist look much bigger because all hair does is make an illusion. And so put the hair in.
So it was for fullness, not for length.
The hair? No, for length. My
it was
hair,
for length. Okay.
It looks long now. It was like here.
Okay.
I don't know how it grew that fast. I guess I might be, maybe my meal plan's working with my hair too. But yeah, it was like down to my shoulders for Universe. It grew a little bit before my next show, but it was still like you could see my whole back. And I do have a pretty dominant back, and so it wasn't creating that V taper the same way that it probably would with the hair. The second I got hair extensions, it was like night and day. We did like a side by side. I was like, oh my gosh!
Did you get clip-ins?
Yeah. I've ordered on my Amazon $100. Lauren Adams and her team put them in. And I was like, perfect. That
did Jason and Mo say that it was better?
I didn't wear them for them. I wore them at nationals. So that was back I got right before nationals. And then they did like even Jimmy was at nationals and he was like, yeah, they looked way
okay. That's what I was wondering because sometimes like they're so genuine. Jason, Jimmy, and Mo. Pretty much every judge I've met in the Carolinas, especially, but like they are genuinely interested in seeing you improve. And so I was curious if they had reached out after to let you know. So it sounds like they did.
Yeah. And they all keep up with me on social media, but then seeing them at like posing clinics and things like that, they all did come up and they were like, that was like, you took our feedback, you worked with it. They changed my posing a little bit. And it made me just so much more confident going into that national show. And honestly, like, I think that's what it is confidence. And it's not necessarily confidence in the fact that I'm going to win the show, because I stand by the fact that I have no expectations going to any show whatsoever. And that's why after nationals, or my first national show at Universe, I was still happy. I wasn't upset. I was like, I got here on this stage with all these girls. Like, I wasn't first call out. I wasn't second call out. I was third, but Tyler moved me to center of that third call out. And for me, I was like, that was still a good feeling. And it was also
you placed.
Yeah, I was there.
You placed. That's awesome.
So I don't know. But once I was at that last show, I was like, I didn't really think I was going to get my pro card out of the show. I manifested it.
Mhm.
I wanted it for sure. Don't get me wrong.
That's what I was wondering, like if you knew you wanted it and if how you did you feel like this is going to be the show or did you feel like just confident and calm?
So I will say, like, I've typically gotten some nerves before shows, and I did still have nerves. Don't get me wrong, but the day flowed much better. Like,
Mm.
I just felt like I got up, things were going well. There was a couple hiccups, but it was just I felt calm. I'm like, I've done this before. We're good. Like, I wasn't stressed out. My coach was there. And all of that happening and then leading up to prejudging and then holding center, and then I start crying on after
Oh, I
prejudging.
bet. Oh my
Oh
gosh, I
God.
bet
Like,
you got off stage like it's gonna happen.
I
But then
was
you're like, but don't think it's gonna
like,
happen. Because then it might not happen.
I remember being in the elevator with my coach and being like, so, and he's like, we don't know yet. We
Everybody
don't know yet.
relax. Everybody relax.
We don't know. And I'm
We
like,
don't know, even though we totally know. You see that meme I posted? I gotta send it to you later. It made me like
no.
made this like reel of this guy. He's like basically going like it could go either way. It could go either way.
Yeah.
And like that's coaches when they know that their girl is gonna win, but they're like or splitting center and they're like, well, we don't
Yeah, it was literally, and then like
know.
later on, my best friend who was there was talking with my coach like during this whole time, and my coach telling me like we don't know, and he told him like she's got it.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't tell me. They would not tell me. So I'm over here overthinking it. I'm like, oh my
Right.
gosh.
Well, they probably
But
also wanted to make sure you still showed up to finals, like, with that little bit of fight in you, that confidence, that, like, give it to me vibe.
to be fair, like it's valid. You don't know. I've like my first show ever, I was center, placed third.
That's true, because
And
they could
I
be
don't know,
comparing you
like,
to another
what
person.
happens. I don't know why, but sometimes they just move girls off to the side because they already know where they're at and they just want to compare different people. So you really can't take that too much. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely felt much more confident during that show and just a lot better. I told my family not to come. I
That's one way to handle that.
well, before the show, I was like, "Ah, no, like there's going to be national shows next year that you guys can come to. Like, I don't think this is the one. Like, I don't want you guys
Oh, interesting.
here. Christmas is coming up. Just don't come to this show." And it happened, and I was like,
I bet your dad was, like, so bummed he couldn't be there because I mean, it seems like he's so supportive from what I've seen online.
yeah, my parents were. They were like, "Geez," like, and they kind of were like, "Well, we knew you were gonna," but that's how all parents they think they know the sport. I'm like, you don't know how hard that status is to maintain. Like, they don't get that, and so they were like, "Well, we knew." And I'm like, I mean, you didn't, but I wish you could have been there. But that all being said,
Aw.
like I think for athletes, like what I always tell other athletes is like treat every show like it's going to be the big show because like
Hmm.
I didn't get the giant Gilco package. I didn't get my parents there. I did all these things because I was like, well, like for the sake of being like I just am happy to be here, which I totally was and
You
still
were.
am, but just not wanting to like I guess dramatize it because I was like, I don't know, no, just have everyone there. Every show is your show, regardless. Like you've worked hard. Because looking back, like that moment only happens once. And I remember like getting my card, walking off stage, and obviously celebrating with the people that were there.
Yeah.
But just wishing like every time I manifested, I'm the Stairmaster, we all do it. Of like your new IFBB Pro walking off stage, my mom and dad were there, and I was crying,
Oh.
running to them. And when they weren't, I was like I wish that they could have been. So for my pro debut, they will be there. I'm like,
Aw.
make it a big thing, even though that might not be. I mean, it's going to be probably a much different outcome, but the concept again of celebrating everyone and just like, yeah. So
I thought you did get the Gilco package.
I got one of them, but I wanted
Okay.
to get like he does this package.
Oh, is it like the 360 one where they also get you from below and
they have a package that's like a video, like a vlog experience. They come backstage, they do your backstage video, they do your on stage video, and it's hard to get for your like getting your pro card because you don't know when you're going to get your pro card. So I'm getting it for my pro debut because I'm like, at least I
Yeah.
know it's my one pro debut. That's it.
Right.
All the pro girls that I've talked to have been like, no, like you only get this show once, so like make it
That's
as
a great one to do it for.
and so that's what I'm gonna do, and I'm really excited. But yeah, I don't know. That was like a lot of yapping. I don't know if any of it made sense, but I think like just being involved in the sport for the entirety of the year, like I pretty much always say, like I was on prep all year. I mean, I was following my stuff. I was doing everything the same, except my food would go up and down. um, and I think like I got comfortable, I got more confident, and I took every piece of feedback that I could have gotten and I made it happen. And so yeah, like placing 14th wasn't necessarily like you can place 14th in one show, first the next. It's really
Which
just
you
about
did.
yeah, it's just about how you show up and who shows up and like how you bring your package because the peak can go so different.
You know what else can happen is you can do a show and you can think you're looking your best, your best, your best. And then 2 days later, you're checking in with your coach post show. You've eaten more, you've drank a lot of water, you've gotten more sodium, and your coach realizes, and even if your coach doesn't pull water, even if your coach doesn't pull sodium, like my coach doesn't do that. But we still found after North Americans, right after that, and you can relate to this too, which we're going to talk about this. But right after that, I went on vacation. I went on a trip with my family.
Yeah.
Well, first I went to speak at a bodybuilding seminar, and then I went to a trip with my family. And I remember sending my check-ins to my coach, and he's like, "Oh my gosh. Like we could have been feeding you so much." And we were already eating a lot. He's like, "We could have been feeding you even more." So you learn continuously. And like, I don't have regrets about the fact that like I documented, like with the Gilco video at North Americans, because like that was my best. And then even though I didn't place or even come close, now like going into this season, like we've learned so much, and like you said, it's a long-term commitment. It's something you're doing day in and day out, and sure, things change little by little based on what you're working towards. But then I think now, because I had such a great improvement season, actually so great that I was like resistant to starting prep.
Love.
Now I'm like in prep, and I'm like, now I'm 3 days out as we're recording this, and I feel confident. And like I've an Alyssa, and I don't want to, I'm not trying to like take from the episode, so I hope it doesn't come
We're
across that
not
way.
3 days out. Like this is you too.
I'm freaking excited. Like this is the most confident that I've felt. So hearing you talk about how confident you felt, the visualization you did, like that gets me excited because I want to like experience that, you know? So I appreciate you sharing that. And I've been so curious because you could say you turned pro so fast. I mean, I've been in this 10 years, and
Yeah.
that's some people go 10 years, some people go 1 year, some people go 6 months. It's crazy, this sport. So you turned pro quickly, but did you expect, or I know you said you don't really have expectations, but did you want your pro card? Like, what was it that was driving you to go, I want to go pro, especially when it was still fairly early on?
So I like I said before, but I've been lifting since I was like 14.
Yeah.
And I worked at a bodybuilding gym, Powerhouse Gym in Berea, Ohio, and I like always saw competitors in and out of there. And I would
Mhm.
get people who were like, "You have the physique for it," and I was always that girl that was like, I like food too much. Hello, which is so ironic because I truly do believe that us bodybuilders are the biggest foodies on the planet. I live by that. So if you love food too much, this is probably the sport for you.
A lot of us, I feel like we have these like fixation foods. We're just like, I like you and your hot dog mug. And I'm like, I love
Yeah.
chocolate. Like,
I love chocolate. I stand by that too. I'm a sweet tooth through and through. My ninja cream. If I didn't have a ninja cream, I don't think I could do bodybuilding.
yeah, right. Oh,
It changed my
you're
life.
not doing chocolate chips anymore. Think there's never gonna be a day.
You know,
Sorry.
now that I think of it, between Universe and Nationals, I did get a Ninja Creamy. So maybe maybe we should think about getting a Ninja Creamy.
I love it. It's like, is that correlated to the pro card? Ninja
um,
Creamy's like, write that down.
write that down. But yeah, with the whole pro thing, I always was like, you know what? I do want to compete, but if I'm gonna compete, I want to be I want to go pro. Throughout my life, I've played sports. I played lacrosse, I danced, I did a few random things, and I was always good at them. I was always athletic, but I was never like great at anything. I wasn't like, this is my calling, this is what I want to do. And so, but I was like, if I do compete, I want to go pro. One of the owners of Powerhouse, she's an IFBB fitness pro, and she's always inspired me. She helped me get into the sport, everything like that. And so I was like, you know what, that's what I want to do. But I didn't want to start competing until I felt like I had some type of foundation, because I knew I wanted to be a pro, right? So I
Smart. When was that? Sorry, when was that? Was that when you were 14, 15, 16?
no, I mean, I didn't meet them until I was probably like 20.
That's still amazing to have that awareness of, oh, I shouldn't go into prep cut mode. I actually need to build a foundation.
Yeah. And so, because when I was 14 and I started lifting, I would lift, but I wouldn't eat the amount of protein I ate. I didn't understand that. Once I was
Okay.
20, I was like, okay, you know what? How do I do this? And that's when she was kind of like, well, you need to eat. And I was like, okay. So, I mean, funny enough, through high school, they called me pancake because I didn't even have any type of ass on me at all.
Was that
um,
hurtful or was it funny?
oh no, it was so hurtful. I was so
Okay.
hurt.
I was gonna say you're laughing, but I feel like that would have been hurtful.
I laugh about it now because I've grown in the gym and I've made the difference, and it's funny. But
You're like, ha, look at me now. They call me Big
yeah, like
Booty Judy around these parts.
it was more so like middle school, like when I was
Yeah.
young, like the mean girls in middle school. But yeah, so anyway, I like always knew I wanted to become a pro. And then once I did, getting into competing for me was so random. I knew I was going to Europe for like 6 weeks, and I also was like, I wanted to compete this year. Huh, when can I do that? I'm not going to do that after Europe. That wouldn't make sense. Oh, there is a show right before. Oh, I'm 13 weeks out. Well, guess I'm in prep. Guess tomorrow I start prep, and that's exactly what I did. Um,
Did you prep
and
yourself or is that when you connected with a coach?
oh, that was just me. That was just me and my
Wow.
like, I'm just gonna jump into this head first. I've seen people do it. We'll see what happens. Um, and I had some advice from the people that I knew from the gym, or some friends that I knew that maybe had competed in the past, but it wasn't anywhere near having a coach like I have today. And I'm a posing coach, like I'm just very much just like going with the flow. So I think coaching yourself, people can do it successfully, but I think personally, I can't do it. I think you're your own biggest critic, and you need to have somebody there to like help you. Because for me, I just got depleted and I just looked so small and like in a scary way. And I went to Christy Guyton, the Christy Guyton suits, but I went to look at my suit, and Christy was like, girl, when's the last time you had a burger? And I'm like, I don't know. I've been in prep for 10 weeks. I don't think I've never had a burger in this last 10 weeks, let alone I don't know when the last time I had one was. She goes, well, you need one. I'm like, no, my show's in 5 weeks. What do you mean? I didn't know the concept of
Yeah.
need. And that was when she connected me with an amazing IFBB pro coach, Veronica Henton, who helped me pose and got me ready for stage within 5 weeks. She coached me. And I did have that before my first show. But going before those 5 weeks, I was just cruising just on my own.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, but I was also like, I knew I wanted to be a pro, and that was like a goal of mine. But then I also was like, well, I don't know if it's for me. So I'm gonna get on stage. we're going
Yeah.
to see how I feel. And if it is, then cool. If not, then I'll just go back to living the life I live. And that is what it is. I just moved to this beach town and I just wanted something new to try. And the second I got up on that stage, I'm like, nope, this is it. This is where I belong. I feel good here. I feel confident here. I'm happy here. And
Yeah.
I enjoyed every part of the process because it's not easy. It's not fun
Mm-mm.
time. But if you don't love the horrible parts of it, like it sounds crazy, but then why? Like most of it is like the dieting and the working out and the having to go out with your friends and drink the water while they're all drinking and doing other things and you're not eating or you're bringing your prep food everywhere you go. And if you can't do that, then what's the point? You know, if you're not enjoying all of it, you just 30 seconds on stage. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, that was kind of like what got me into it. And then like I knew I wanted to turn pro. So once I met with my coach Casey, Casey Brown with Ironborn Physiques, him and his wife Sarah, they got on a call with me. They're like, "What are your goals?" And I was like, immediately, I was like, "I want to go pro." Like I stepped on stage once. I had that gut feeling that this is for me, and that's just like my goal. And he was like, you know, that's a big goal. That's a big goal to have. We're going to try to get you there. I can't guarantee it. I don't know how long it's going to take. And I'm like, no, it's fine. Like I'm in
Good
it for
for
the
them.
I'm in it for whenever, you know, whenever it's my time, it will be my time. Right. And then, I just started working with them. And obviously when we had Universe, we had no idea how long it was going to take me to get there, but I don't know. We just put our heads down and we just ran with it. And then I never thought about life post pro card because I was just like, I want to get there. And now I'm like, okay, I want to keep competing. I want to keep competing. Like, I don't want to stop just because I've attained this status. Like, I want to be a part of it completely. And just like, I've been immersing myself in the community more, showing up to the posing clinics, and trying to be a big part of it. Because now my biggest thing is inspiring other girls to do the same thing. Like I hope that people see what I did and they're like, oh, I can do that too. That's what I want.
I'm
It
sure
doesn't
people
have anything
listening.
to do with me.
What was that?
I said it doesn't have anything to do with me anymore, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
we're so focused on my impact on others.
I love that. I think that's a very important part of if you're going to be in this industry, like service provider in the industry, it has to be that way. Of course, if you're competing in this industry, some people are like, it is for me and it's just for me. And I'm like, that's great. But if you are intending to like be influential, I think, in other people's journey in some way, posing, coaching, mental health, whatever it is, like I really do think you've got to have a passion for making it the best experience for others, and sharing that love. Like that's what your intention is, and that's very clear. And it sounds like your journey was incredibly fulfilling. Yeah, I want to go back to a point that you made earlier that I think's worth emphasizing, and then I'm going to back up slightly. So you said it's 30 seconds on stage. So you have to enjoy like the difficult parts. And I think that that is often overlooked actually by loved ones. They see what we're doing. Like I'll speak from my own experience. My husband sees what I'm doing and he's like, I don't know how that makes you happy, but he's like, if it is what makes you happy, great, but I don't understand it. Like how? And you kind of have to communicate with people that, yeah, it looks difficult and the discipline is something that most people don't choose for joy, but it really brings that satisfaction and you like all that experience. And then I think that 30 seconds on stage is like, how would you describe that 30? I guess it's not like this manifestation of all your hard work because that's already happened, but in some ways it's like maybe a celebration of it. It's like
Like my wedding day. I
there you go.
I'm very single, have been for a very long time. Don't know when my wedding will ever be, but whenever I go get a suit, it's my wedding dress. And I think that's what it is for us.
Well, let's talk about that. Um, Being in your 20s and navigating competing with things like dating or friend time, travel, work. How do you do that? And what does that look like?
Honestly, I keep my loved ones very close. I'm close to my family, I'm close to my friends. I don't think I go a day without calling somebody or someone calling me. I'm just like a very social
Mhm.
person. I also work at a restaurant, so I'm constantly surrounded by people. Um, I know that drains some people, but for me, I love people. I honestly do. And
Oh.
so I find it very important, and I say this to a lot of athletes that are just getting into it, to like keep those people close to you, and obviously have a life outside of bodybuilding. I've almost kind of molded my life with bodybuilding into my social life. Like I kind of mentioned
Mhm.
before, like being able to still go out. I never just say no, I'm on prep. Like there are days
Sometimes.
like, I can't, I don't really want to be around that right now because I'm not going to be
Yeah.
the best or the happiest ever. Um, but for the most part, if I live at the beach, if it's a summer day and people want to go to the beach, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I probably can't eat all the Uncrustables in the cooler, and that makes me sad sometimes. But when I'm like thinking of my bigger picture and thinking of why I'm doing what I'm doing, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. So, like, I don't get bothered by people eating in front of me. I don't get bothered. We're choosing this life. And I think like you can make it a negative experience by not being happy and like
Mhm.
isolating yourself from everyone. And then when you isolate yourself from everyone, that's when they raise the questions of like, why are you doing this? Like you're
Exactly.
doing this, you're by yourself all the time. You're so fixated on this diet and you're depleting yourself and you have no energy. And it's like, I think the reason that the people around me know that I'm doing it and I love doing it and they don't question me anymore is because they see me not just like thrive within the journey of bodybuilding, but thrive in my life. Like I've
Mhm.
grown so much in independence and just overall happiness since starting this sport. Um, and my family sees that. So they don't question
Yeah.
what I'm doing anymore. When I started, they were like, girl, I don't love the way you look. Like I definitely have had like grandparents, especially, right? It's a different
Oh,
generation.
yeah.
And they're like, you're a female. Why do you have that much muscle? Why do you want that much muscle? Like, what are you doing? Right. And I kind of was like, you don't get bothered because they're just old. I love them to death, but you're like, that's just your nature. That's just your age, your generation. But once they saw like the impact it had on other aspects of my life, if that makes sense, like my
Oh,
social,
yeah.
they were like, no, like this is good. And so I always just say like keep a balance with it. Traveling on prep or just even in my off season, right? Like right now, I think what happened when I turned pro was I had this like realization of like, oh, this is my life now, right? Like
Yeah.
yeah, I'm prep, but I'm still following a meal plan and I'm still going to the gym and I'm still like,
Exactly.
there's nothing I do right now that I don't do on prep. Like maybe I'm not fasting my cardio, but other than
Right.
that, like my life looks very similar. So you can choose to like, and that's why you have to love it. But if
Yes.
you want to still do things like travel and date and do all these things, like you have to be okay with that. And so yeah, like I just went to New York City and I found out probably last year that you can pack food on an airplane.
Oh my gosh.
I just
Yeah.
use my chicken, I put it in a cooler, I bring it on the airplane. Um, or I just get in like when I get Airbnbs or I stay with someone, I just bring food and I cook it there. And I'll obviously, especially in off season, always allow yourself, if you're traveling, allow yourself to have a few off meals. Like it's not gonna kill you. Um, but I think you can get away with traveling, especially now. Like most of my shows, all of my shows, I will have to travel to be at. So there's no show that's happening in my backyard anymore. Um, so yeah, I think like traveling is good and easy. I will say like I I haven't really dated much in the past few years. That was more of like a personal preference of just like honestly like I needed to do this for me. I needed to find my independence and be able to just grow as a person. And I think I'm finally in a place where I'm ready. If someone came along, I'd be ready and open to that. But I'm not necessarily looking because I'm so fulfilled by the life I do have on my own. And that's honestly a great feeling to have. So yeah, that's kind of how I manage balancing life, right?
Love
I
that
still work
perspective.
full time at a restaurant around food all day long, and I can choose to sit there and be mad about it, or it's just it's my job. I bring my meal prep, I eat it in between serving people, and I do my job.
That's right. I love that perspective. Like you are choosing this lifestyle. That's the at the end of the day, that's what you're saying is it's my choice. So I'm not gonna if I'm choosing this, that doesn't mean I'm letting go of family or friendships or travel or I'm just learning how to incorporate it. And you actually had gone on that trip to Europe, like you said. So, how did that experience go for you, having been post show? And how has your most recent post show experience been since now you've got this identity of IFBB Bikini Pro? I'm wondering if it's looked different.
Sure. So after my first show, I you see stuff online, and we all see it of after your show what I ate after my show, and it is like,
It's awful.
oh my gosh, like you buy so many cookies, so much food, and then you feel like you have to eat it all. And then you feel like you have to document eating it all and show everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that you can't make those videos. Like they're fun and it's cool, but also it put this idea in my head of like, I have to do that. I have to enjoy as much as I can. This is the only time I'm gonna be able to enjoy it, right?
Mhm.
And so after my first show, I honestly that night I had a lot of sushi and I had like a cinnamon roll and it was a lot and I was full, but I was fine. But when
It
I went
wasn't like a binge.
no, but when I got to Europe, I was like, my coach had mentioned like the reverse diet thing, and I was like, yeah, that's great, but I can't do it. I didn't even think, like, could you? Yes, you
Yeah,
actually
you
could. There
could.
are grocery stores there. You could. Do I think that it was a good time to travel? No. I think I recommend like reversing for 6 to 8 weeks and then traveling.
Yeah,
That would
agreed.
because the food in Europe's clean. Most people lose weight when they're in Europe. What happened to me was opposite, and that was just because I wasn't used to digesting that. Like I was in Italy for most of my trip, and I'm Italian. I've grown up on carbs and pastas, my body just couldn't handle it. So even when I wasn't necessarily what people would call binging and I was just eating normal meals that were off plan,
Right.
I was feeling so sick. And it got to the point where it just kept happening. I wasn't necessarily getting sick. I think I did once. But I was just feeling sick all the time. And it got to the point where I was like, this sucks. I want to be able to eat. Like
Yes.
appetite I shot my metabolism. So there was no appetite. I just felt like I should eat because I need to experience all the food, which, I do think you should experience food
Yes.
traveling. But it got to the point where I'm
Yes.
eating like 5 meals a day, but like big meals, and then like having like gelato after every meal, even though I already knew what the gelato tastes like. I had
Exactly.
an experience where I ate my cone so quick that I ordered not just one more, but two more because by the time that I had finished my cone, everyone else had a cone still, and I was like, I need more.
I
um,
gotta be eating with them.
yeah, and it just I don't know because when you go from restricting yourself so much to then having this mindset of like, oh well, the world is my oyster, I can eat whatever I want. It does make you appreciate food more, but you also have to be very gentle with that because I took it to a level of like, I don't care. I mean, I before I bodybuilt, I never cared about what I ate, and I always digested it just fine. I never was. I mean, I didn't eat like crap. I ate pretty relatively healthy, but if I wanted a burger, I didn't like have to overthink it for 10 years about like, oh, should I really get the burger, or should I just like push it away till tomorrow? Like now, I have a different, or
Hmm.
at least especially at that time, I was really struggling with the idea of getting back into eating normally. Um, and so Europe was a hard experience. Seeing my body switch in the short term of 6 weeks. I mean, I went from, I don't know what my weight was, but I gained 30 pounds in 6 weeks. And for
Yeah.
someone 4'11", that's a lot to put on in that period of time. And
Mhm.
also just like the way I felt. And that
Right.
was the worst part. It wasn't about like the actual number on the scale. It never is. But I didn't feel good. I still worked out like every day when I was there. My biggest thing when traveling is like finding cool gyms. But as far as eating, yeah, the habits, that was where I think my bad eating habits started. I would try to like talk myself into being better, but it wouldn't work. Um, and then I got back and I was like, I want to get back on stage. I don't look like I'm ready to get back on stage, nor do I feel like I'm ready to get back on stage. Um, and I think I always say they must put creatine in the pasta in Europe because I somehow did gain a lot of muscle while I was there because I was still working out and eating. Um, still recommend going on a trip right after your show. I really
Yeah.
don't. Um, but yeah, I ended up getting back into a prep in January. I had gotten back in November, so I took a couple months to kind of like breathe and like be with my family and like follow some type of diet, but I didn't have a coach at this point. I was kind of just like, okay, like let's see if I can have a healthy relationship with food again.
Yeah.
And then I got back into it. Um, but it was a really hard experience. I think like by the end of the trip, I remember shopping for bathing suits at a store in Greece, and this beautiful in Santorini. It was absolutely gorgeous, and these ladies are like, "You look beautiful in the suit," and I'm just like, I don't feel it. I don't want this suit. I started crying in the store because I hated every suit I tried on. And that was when I realized, like, okay, I've taken this too far. I don't know how to revert it at all. And I also couldn't stop eating or doing like it wasn't like I was changing anything while I was there. I just like was not happy with myself, but doing the same things.
Mhm.
So I mean, at the end of the day, I had to get back to my routine, come back home, adjust, and that was a big adjustment. I think post travel, we all have like I always call it like post travel depression. Like you just like get those blues, post show blues. You know, we all get that. But it elongated it a lot because I was there for
Oh, I'm
so long.
sure.
I like forgot what my identity was outside of the 6 weeks I was there. Um, but yeah, I've improved a lot since. But yeah, I mean, I could kind of after if I have a show and then I have a show like 4 to 6 weeks later, I'm pretty good about following back on track. Um, After Universe was where I realized that my issues with food were probably a little more deep rooted than I was allowing. And that was when I like got back from New York. I wasn't that bad when I was in New York. Like I did eat out, but just a little bit shared with friends and whatever. I just wanted to try a little bit of everything. That's fine. But once I got back, it was like I remember getting off the plane, coming home. My sister lives with me. She was sleeping. I go in the pantry and she keeps other stuff. Like she doesn't bodybuild. She has a normal life and it's fine. She has her little snacks. And I normally just don't look at them. I got home and I just ate everything I could see. Everything I could see. And I was like, why did I do what? It's like I'm you're not in your head. You're not it's not real. Um and it's like you're not drunk, but I don't know how else to describe it. You just can't stop what you're doing. Um, so that was my first like bad binging episode. And then like, you know, you always say, okay, well, tomorrow I'll get back on track. It won't happen again. And then it becomes a habit of like maybe it's every day, maybe it's every week. I started treating my cheat meals like this is my last cheat meal. So every cheat meal I had would just be a giant binge episode from 6 p.m. till the time I hit the bed. And then I would
Mhm.
just stay up a little bit later too to make it longer.
Right.
Um, and that's when I realized, like, okay, you gotta chill. Um, Once I'm in prep, I lock back in and I don't struggle at all. Which seems great. But then it's also like that's not fixing anything. That's just making you, you know. And so after nationals, I made it like a big goal of mine to like really, really work on that. And I'm nowhere near perfect. I'm nowhere near perfect, but I've definitely come such a long way. I nailed my reverse diet. I mean, I
Mhm.
got a refeed like every weekend, but anytime I have a refeed now, it's like I actually asked my coach. I said, "Could you give me like an amount? Like if I'm going for sushi, he'll be like have 3 rolls, you know, and then I'll have that because he's telling me to." And it
Mhm.
helps hold me accountable of like, okay, well, I'm not going to like eat all you can eat. I don't do all you can eat anymore. Um, now I think I'm in a place where I could do that. Like when I was just in New York, I didn't follow a meal plan for the most part. I would just go out, order something on the menu that wasn't the greasiest fried thing. I just
Right.
get like a chicken salad, or like I had some really good like breakfast bowls and things that honestly probably align directly with the macros that are on my plan.
Exactly.
I felt totally fine. And so I've definitely, I don't want to say healed because I think like we all have struggles, but I've definitely learned a lot along the way, and navigating that. But it is so important to talk about because I think like it all comes back to seeing what you see on social media and like all the things that people eat and then thinking like, oh, I have to do this. And I always tell myself now, like, this cheat meal or this night isn't the last time I can have this. I can have this anytime. And then also, like, recently I had a conversation with my coach, and I don't start prep for like a few weeks. And I said, for these last few weeks, can I do macros instead of meal plan? And I live by meal plan. I really do. Only
Hmm.
because like I like to stick to what I know. I honestly, what it comes down to is I don't feel like doing the work of like counting everything. So
Yeah,
I'm like, tell me what I need to eat and I'll do it. But now that I have a little bit more time, I'm not in prep. I was like, I want to try the macros. And it also gives me the ability to scratch these itches I've been having.
for sure.
Um, and then I don't feel the need that I need it anymore because I've tried it, I've had it. You know what
Exactly.
a cookie tastes like. You know what it tastes like. You don't necessarily need it, but it feels that way sometimes. So if you don't allow yourself to have a little bit every once in a while, I think that's when like the issues start. And like I said, when I started bodybuilding, I just jumped into it head first and didn't even give myself a refeed. I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
um,
I could not miss the opportunity to invite listeners to something really, really incredible that I'll be doing, and I am so excited about it. I am hosting an intimate all-female retreat in Greenville, South Carolina from August 1st to the 4th, and there are only 3 spots left by the time you hear this. There may be less. So act on this now if you're looking for a chance to connect, grow, and recharge with like-minded women who share your love for bodybuilding and fitness, which is exactly why I am coming to you on this podcast to announce it and let you know that there are some spots open still. And if you want to spend a weekend with an incredible group of women, all about community, mindset, and movement, we're going to be diving into mental health in a way that applies directly to your fitness journey, enjoying the gym and coffee dates with women who really get you, and experience a private chef prepared meal that's going to satisfy what you need for your current nutrition goals and explore the beauty of nature with hikes and a downtown picnic and just enjoying the incredible scenery of where I live. It is beautiful here and I want to have you guys. Plus, I've got some surprises up my sleeve that you won't want to miss. If you come, you will also have access to a pool, pickleball courts, bocce ball, everything you need for a seamless stay because you'll be at my house and you'll have access to everything you need, like a fridge and microwave and stove. When we had some meetups last year, it was awesome, like so fun, which is why I decided to do another one this year, this August. And provide it in such a way where you have all your needs met so you can just focus on showing up for yourself inside and out and making the absolute most of your time there without it feeling like you're going to have to sacrifice any of your goals. Instead, we're going to be capitalizing on our time to get you even closer to the achievement of those goals. So if this sounds like exactly what you need, connecting with other like-minded women, forming lasting friendships, and of course, spending some much needed time on your mental health, as well as still getting in everything you need for your goals, message me for details at celeste@celestial.fit or celestial_fit on Instagram. So again, that's an email, celeste@celestial.fit, or you can DM me on Instagram at celestial_fit. Before the last spots fill up, I recommend messaging me ASAP because I cannot wait to see you there and have you. It will be incredible. If you have any questions at all, of course, feel free to reach out when you inquire. Okay, so let me say thank you for sharing everything you did because, like you said, it needs to be talked about. And sometimes what you see online is very different than what's actually happening in real life. And my role is to help people with their food relationship and body image. And everything you're describing is so common. These are common experiences people have. We've all been there. And I think seeking ways to address it, get help for it, manage it. I love that you went from a meal plan to a macros perspective, at least for a little bit, and you're finding that, oh, by incorporating these things, I reduce my desire for them. And that's because, generally speaking, restriction breeds fixation. So when you're constantly thinking, well, the only time I get this is a cheat meal, or the only time I get this is if I'm on vacation, then all those times are associated with overeating, feeling bad, binge eating, losing control around certain foods. So to be able to learn from those experiences and reflect on how it's affected you is a big deal. And you're right. It's almost like I do believe we can heal it. I think it's just always a work in progress and a
No,
commitment.
it could be it like definitely I believe it can be healed. The only reason I say that is because I'm not perfect right now. And I think like I want to be very transparent with that. You know, there are nights that I've still struggled with having episodes of that. Um, or maybe it's just overeating a little bit of extra peanut butter. But if I do a little bit, like if I do an extra tablespoon of peanut butter, okay, so what? So what? What
It's
is
better
that?
than the whole jar.
Exactly. And so I just started focusing on those little wins too. Like if I'm craving something that bad, especially my off season, I just get it. I just have
Yes. That's so smart.
it the other night because I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go get it. And then and then you know what? I probably had a little bit of stomach ache and I was like, all right, I don't need it for a little bit.
Yeah, and if you give yourself permission to do that, you're less likely to go crazy on it because you've said, well, this is okay, I'm choosing this. You're consciously making that choice. It's a mindful choice versus it being one of those like, no, I can't have it. No, I can't have it. And then you have a little bit of it. And then you're like, well, I ruined everything. So now I'm going to have more. Instead, it's like, no, if I want it, I can go have more. Or I can go get some. And the other thing too is a lot of times people, when they repeat, I'll get back on track tomorrow. This will be the last time I'll get back. It's actually perpetuating the behavior of binging or restricting because the cycle just keeps repeating. And if you have to keep getting back on track, it's important to question if the track you're on is broken. And a lot of times people don't take the time to actually consider like maybe the process or the mindset or how I'm the intentions behind this are not actually conducive to my long-term success if I keep having to say to get back on that track. So what needs to change about it? And like you said, for you, that's like, okay, well, maybe I need to incorporate some of these things more consistently or have them when I want them. And that's okay versus the mindless binging.
Yes. And also like I have a sticker chart. And I just every day that I follow my good habits and I don't, you know, overeat or anything like that, I'll put a little sticker down. And I gave them to some of my friends as well, who I was like, okay, like do this, but then like send me photos of it, right? Because then you have like you don't. That's embarrassing. You don't have a sticker today, like not really.
Yeah.
How it makes you
It's accountability.
you're like, I don't okay, you know, if it was just for me, that's one thing. And like I can show you
Yeah, show us.
I still have this card and this was in between my regional show and
Aw,
my national show. And I have IFBB Pro card as my reward at the bottom.
that's
And then
awesome.
every single day, those last few weeks of my prep before my show, and I keep it on my fridge.
And you did it.
But yeah, and so it's just like when you follow it, you see you see the progress, you see the effort, and then like you build the good habit because like
Hmm.
I could confidently say that during that time, like these stickers were going on easy because I was feeling good about where I was at.
Yeah.
It's normally the off season where I'm like, I'm already so bloated. I don't really care right now. Like this is what, and then that's when it would happen. And so now that
Hmm.
I'm like deep into my off season and I've followed my reverse and my digestion's really good, I don't really feel the need as much because I'm a
Yeah.
little more open to things, and my calories are higher, so I'm not as starving throughout the day where it becomes a problem. Um, on prep, I always just tell people like go for walks, like go to the if you have a beach, if you don't have a beach, like you need to go to the park, but like keep yourself out of the house. Keep yourself out of the
Yeah,
house. If you're in your house during the day, if you work from home, like try not to work in your kitchen or like somewhere where
exactly.
you're thinking of food. Like I worked from home as a medical device sales rep during my prep, and that was so hard because I was just staring at my refrigerator. Just like,
Well, yeah, and if you don't have other things to keep you busy or occupied, now granted, like if it's kind of like, yeah, if you work from home and you're working in your kitchen, you're probably going to think about food more. Just like if you see a commercial for a burger, you're going to think about burgers more. Like that's just how things work in our brain. And to be able to remove yourself from the situation is good. And also to be able to learn to be in that situation is
yeah,
good. Like, but do it in doses. So sit in your office and work. And then if you want to do some emails in the kitchen and mix up your environment, great. But do that while sipping tea or do that while you've got a funny show on in the background. So you have something else that's kind of like making an association with that area versus just eating, eating, eating.
right. No, I agree. And that's why like I say that like in the way of like if it's a big problem, like start there. Like don't do it. But then
Yeah,
you have to reintroduce it because if you're
you
just
do.
avoiding the problem, you're never going to get better. You're never going to heal it, right? So then
Exactly.
now like I'm in my kitchen right now and the last thing I'm thinking about is my next meal, which is crazy actually because typically that's all you're
What
thinking.
you would be thinking about.
And
Right.
it's just like it's the little wins and it's the progress to get there. But I mean, I've been throughout whether I'm on prep or off season working on little things, and I think I'm doing a great job. I think also like
Yeah.
I've created this. I've started to create this community where I live. When I started bodybuilding, there was not a big community here, at least that I knew of,
Yeah.
that was bodybuilders like my age. And so I was very alone in the sport and I was very much just like figuring it out. And I had a support system, but they were all like, girl, I don't know, like, just eat. Like, I don't know why you're hungry like that. Like, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. and,
Yeah. They don't understand.
and so I couldn't really, and I don't want to complain about it because, again, it's my choice. And so
Exactly.
now I kind of got to the point like, people were coming up to the gym asking my coach, and we've like my coach started to build this amazing team of young athletes, and these girls have become my best friends. I absolutely adore them.
Aw.
And then there's some other athletes that don't necessarily work with my coach, but they go to the gym and they're also competing, and whether it be fit model, which is super exciting, or bikini and wellness, and all these girls are now creating this environment, this atmosphere, and it is so I love it because they'll sit there and talk about how I've been inspiring them, but they all truly inspire me.
Aw.
And that's like a huge part of what keeps me on track as in my off season is I'm like, well, I have all these girls looking up to me. I'm not going to be like, I want to show other people that like, hey, this is how you can rewire your brain not to feel that way. And you
Yeah.
can kind of like live this lifestyle. Like I kind of said before, like once you are an athlete and a competitor and that's what you want to do, like that's your life all over
Yeah.
what time of year it is. Um, and so, yeah, but the community that we've created is so important. And it's just like a huge thing. Like, that's like the whole social aspect. Like, I tell these
Oh,
girls,
yeah.
and I'll have people over for dinner. And we just weigh out our food. And I'm just like, okay,
So great.
everyone text me what you want and, or what's
What
on your
drinks do you want? What kind of flavor
yeah,
energy drink you like?
exactly. And it doesn't have to be alone. It doesn't have to be
Right.
it can be this beautiful thing. Like we can do so much. I go to the sunrise with a lot of my bodybuilding friends. We walk our dog,
Aw,
and that's like a great way to start the day, especially on
I
prep
love
when
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
knockout cardio like that. That's perfect.
and so like there's so many things you can do with people and like creating that community. Even if like maybe you don't have a lot of people in your area reaching out to people online, like I love
Yes.
just having like-minded friends and people to text and reach out to and bounce ideas off of each other. Recipes, oh my gosh, saved my life. Like prep foods. I don't know if you've ever done like celery or cucumber with like stevia and cinnamon.
Cucumber, yes. Celery, no.
Celery honestly changed the game for me. I kind of love it. It's like more crunchy. Um,
Interesting. I do like celery, but I would have never imagined it would be also good with that.
yeah, or I'll do like a savory cucumber and then like hot sauce with like
Oh,
little seasoning or like whatever seasoning I'm craving. Trader Joe's has amazing seasonings and they're like 0 calorie. Just put a little bit on there. And like, so you live by like little things like that, and then you learn
yeah.
people's little things, and it just creates like the ninja creamy. I like tell people all the time, I'm like, if you don't have one, just let me know and I'll prep you one. Like you can
That's
have
so cute.
but yeah, like there's definitely so much benefit in having other people around you that are doing the same things.
I agree. And being able to talk with people about this lifestyle is very reassuring. Like you start to feel understood. You start to feel like you have a connection to people. You're not so isolated or crazy. And then you're surrounded by people who understand what you're going through too. So when things are more difficult, they can encourage you versus be like, well, then I don't know, don't do it then.
Yeah, exactly. It's more rewarding and powerful, and like it keeps you going in the sport. It keeps you wanting to be a part of it. Um and it's just been so much fun. Also, like I we can now practice comparisons because there's so many of us. Like how crazy is
That
that?
is so great. Oh, and it's such a that's so hard to practice on your own. Like you got to set up like your bar stool here and you've got like a tripod here.
You're like, okay, like what piece of equipment? And then like you have the sock circles, like, and it's just like, yeah, like what is going on here?
And
Um,
then when you're with someone else too, like you actually practice like that awkward moment of we're both just looking at each other. Should I go this way or this
fun
way?
fact, not once, but twice. Should not have happened twice. I bumped into somebody on stage. I don't know if it was my fault or their fault or what, or if it was
Happens.
anyone's fault, but it happens. It happens. And guess what? It
That's
was fine. Like, it was
fun.
fine. We laughed. And it didn't affect our placings. Like, I think Mo just started laughing. Don't bump into each other. But like, practicing that stuff is so beneficial because it can be like you just don't pay attention. You're just walking because we kind of do blackout on stage.
Well, and also that's like one of the most unpredictable moments because sometimes competitors are taught will always go behind and some of them are taught to go in front. And if someone's going behind someone and you're like looking for who you're supposed to switch with, that's awkward. But then if you're both looking at each other, it almost feels like a face off where you're like, one of us got to go in front and it doesn't matter, but we got to make the move. And then you're like dancing on stage with them. So, yeah, that can be so awkward. So, it's good to be able to practice that with people.
Exactly. Um, yeah, community is huge. I think that's like a big thing that helps with all aspects. Like, but then also not comparison.
Right. Well, it's probably for a good reason. Like if you're around other people all the time, then you
Yeah,
get to see like, oh, well, that we're all just doing the best we can. We all look different, but we're all bringing like what we can bring.
exactly. Like as long as you're showing up on show day with your best package, that's all that should matter. Like a
Right.
win to me isn't documented necessarily by like the title or the placing or any of that. It's just like I said, I got first in a show that wasn't even a win to me because I was like,
Not your
great,
best.
got my qualification, but I should have looked better on that stage. Now, mind you, like I didn't beat myself up. I still went out with my family, celebrated that
Yeah.
night time, but it doesn't necessarily mean the world when you get that placement. You want to, I would
Exactly.
rather be happy about the package I brought and not do well than
Same.
opposite.
I
Yeah,
100% agree. It's not a good feeling to place but not bring your best. Um, because at the end of the day, like the thing that's most rewarding is actually knowing you brought something you're proud of.
exactly. No, I agree.
So I am really dying to know you had gotten your bachelor's in neuroscience.
Yeah.
Do you have intentions of using that? Because that's an incredible accomplishment. Or is it like bodybuilding has just like changed your trajectory for career and life?
I am open-minded, right? I don't know what's going to come. I live day by day. If I had a perfect life, that like my ideal thing would be that bodybuilding at the end of the day would become a career for me. And that's kind of what I'm running with now. I don't want to work at a restaurant forever. I don't think that that's ever going to happen anyways, because I do have like bigger plans for myself. Um, I have used my degree in medical sales jobs, but I didn't love them. And I thought about starting a full-time job, but with everything happening now with bodybuilding, I was like, it just doesn't make sense right now. If I'm going to start focusing on building my own business, it doesn't make sense for me to start something new. And so the restaurant kind of works that way where it helps me pay my bills while I still have time to do these other things. Um, that being said, like I got the degree to become a doctor. That was like my goal. But once I got the degree, I have pretty bad ADHD and I just realized school is not my forte. I didn't want to be in school anymore. Um, there was a couple times in school where I really wanted to switch my degree to nutrition and I chose not to because I was like, no, like there's not enough money in that, or that people aren't going to look at me the same if I was a doctor. And so I kept it. And honestly, like the degree is great. And I'm super interested and fascinated
Yeah.
by science, the brain, psychology. And I think that's a lot of the reasons of why I am the way I am with the sport. And I like the psyche of it. And like the conversations we're having are so important. Um, because it is like a full body experience competing and it's a full life adjustment. Um, but yeah, I think like honestly, I just want to run with this, build my own business with bodybuilding and hopefully like I don't have to utilize it in that way. But at the same time, like I think like it's still day to day, you still always utilize your degree to some point, I guess. Like, I feel like when I do have clients and things like that, like I did learn, I have a minor in integrative health and things like that. So I did learn some about nutrition and health and wellness and stuff like that. So there is some there. But I'm currently taking my NISM classes as well for coaching. And I know Tyler just announced they're like going to have like certified coaches and stuff, which I love. But I have been working on those as well. So yeah, that's kind of my plan with that. Honestly, just have the
Mhm.
degree, and it's cool. I'm glad I
Yeah.
have it. But once I think, like I said, once I like stepped on stage and realized like this is for me, and just that feeling of like being great at something and feeling it, and
Mhm.
like feeling like inspired every day, and knowing that I can impact other people with this, like this is just where I want to like I kind of lost the love for like a job, like a 9 to 5 corporate
Yeah.
lifestyle. Um, I don't want to have a career that someone can rip from me at any point in time. I want to be able to build something that like is mine and no one can take that away from me.
Love that. Yeah, you can totally do it. And that's going to be really exciting to see that continue to unfold for you, along with just your career in the sport and as a professional. So, do you already have a show in mind for your pro debut in the fall?
Yes, I do.
Really?
Yeah, so I haven't like announced it to the public
You
yet.
don't have to if you.
Honestly. It was like picking a show was so hard because I wanted my coach to be there and I wanted Gilco to be there naturally.
Yeah.
Wanted family to be able to be there. And it it became hard to like line all those things up. There's a lot of moving parts. I really wanted to do the Nashville Fit Show. I really wanted to do that show. It's a show that's like all women. It's like super cool. They're not doing a pro show this year for the first time, and it broke my heart. And like I don't know, I hope that people hearing this can go send them some love because I want that to do that show someday. So I want them to be able to bring back that pro show hopefully next year.
Have
um
you talked to Whitney?
yeah, I did. And she just kind of said that it was a fun thing and they were
Oh,
unable
yeah.
to do the pro show this year. So it was unfortunate. And so I don't know, hoping they can get some sponsors to have that show happen. But that was originally going to be the show. And so finding another show was like, shoot, like, what are we going to do? So I decided on the Tampa Pro.
Oh, that's awesome.
That August 2nd this year on a Saturday. Super excited.
That's a
So
great place to compete.
it's a big show too. And I think
Yeah.
like my whole thing is like, I'm not gonna lie, when I got my pro card, it was just like a little bit of this identity crisis for me of
Mhm.
like, what do they call that? Imposter syndrome of
Mhm.
like, because it was all so quick. I do think I was a little guilty of like, I felt like I lived in every moment, but I definitely didn't during my preps of like just overall from start to finish of bodybuilding. And the way it all flew by was just like, wait, stop, wait, I want to sit here, I want to enjoy this. But by the
Mm.
time I got there, it had already happened. And I realized that like once your moment happens, it
It's
happens.
done. Yeah.
You can't recreate it. Like you can celebrate it and you can be happy and proud, but you can't go back to that moment. And so yeah, that was like an interesting feeling for me. And I think that's why like the next steps is competing. Like I want to make the most of them. I've definitely started living more in the present moment and like making those decisions. But with the Tampa show, like and knowing it's a big show, I was just like, I don't want to compete in a like super small show to like do better or whatever, and then like end up at a amazing show and be like last call outs and like not be competitive. I want to compete against the best immediately, see where I stand, and that's the only way I'm going to get feedback and get better. I'm not going to be afraid. I think it is crazy that there's girls I've looked up to in this sport like for such a long time that are now like I'll be on stage with them. And
Like who? Who comes to mind?
well, I do listen a lot to Phoebe Hagen and Laura Lee's podcast. I love them. And honestly, Maria, I just met her at our seminar, but
She's so
she's like
sweet.
she's the same size as me. And
Yeah.
like that was so sweet. Like she's 4'11. And I think she said she was like the first 4'11 girl to step on the Arnold stage, which is crazy. And so that was super inspiring to me. So like all of these girls that I like take advice from and look up to, and then to see them like to be next to them on stage is like a wild feeling. And so I think like I just need to jump into it, get on there,
Yeah.
like I don't know, just like be a part of the sport. And that's I just went to another posing seminar in Charlotte, where Tyler Mannion was there. And that was such a great experience as well. Like and just like going to all those things, meeting all of the athletes. And yeah, I got to talk to Vanya while I was there. That was really cool. Um, so yeah, like everybody is just so, for the most part, like I've had experiences that have been positive with those athletes and with whether there be amateurs or pros. Like everyone is super nice and supportive and like wants to see success of others. There is so much room for success in this sport. You know, if everyone wants
Exactly.
to have their own brand, their own business, like that's the beauty in it. We can all do that. Um, but yeah, I'm just excited to step on stage again. And I'm gonna do, I think, 4 shows this year is my plan.
Cool.
So
Starting with the Tampa Pro, right?
yes, starting with the
So
Tampa.
August and then onwards.
Yes.
Is your goal to qualify for the Olympia?
That would be really cool. I mean my long-term goal is definitely to have that qualification. I don't know how quickly it's going to come. Like I always look at everything, no expectations. When it's my time, it will be my time.
Yeah.
Um and so I'm just going to, I think that's like doing the big shows is a big part of that because I definitely wouldn't want to qualify for the Olympia and then get there and be like, what am I doing here? Or like why is she there? Um
I would bet no one would think that. I mean, the Olympia to qualify for that's an
it is
amazing feat.
it's a super hard thing to achieve. And so it's definitely a goal of mine. It's not the only thing that will make me happy this year though, if that makes
That
sense.
yeah,
Like
that makes sense.
that would be something that would be like a moment of like pure just like wow, like just a wow moment, kind of like getting my pro card was. But it wouldn't be like the only way I would be happy. I am just excited to step on the stage with these girls that I've considered my idols for such a long time and just keep going with the sport and like be a part of it. I think a lot of people like will get to their pro status and then they don't want to continue to compete. And that's totally fine. Right. But like for me, I'm like, no, like I want to be like fully in this. I want people to know me. I want to be able to impact others in a positive way. And yeah, so I'm just going to keep competing and keep showing up and hopefully just bring a better package to every single show. Um, I've had the experience this past year to get in front of all of our local judges as well as Tyler Mannion, Mo. I had feedback from Sandy after my national show. And then in New York City, I just had one-on-one posing with Steve Weinberger. And that was so incredible. So I like just having all of their feedbacks now and like knowing like
Has it
right.
been very similar?
So what's interesting is yes, but also like no in the weird
Okay.
way. Like they've all had like specific things that they said. Like and like Tyler always told me like you're pretty proportional top to bottom, which obviously like that's the goal with bikini. You don't want to like overgrow one area. Um, but he still had told me like at least in July that I needed some size. And then this past like I basically just like asked him for posing critique at the last thing and it was really just like a hand thing, like putting my hand a little bit further back, like on more on my hip bone, the hand that's like on your hip, right? So like having that a little bit further back and not like covering your stomach or your belly. I think I've always, I guess, done that. And I think a lot of athletes that do. So that's something that they're looking for. Um, and then Sandy's big thing, like after the show, was upper glute and then adductor. We talked about like inner
Hmm.
thighs. Um, And so then, like, when I just talked to Steve, he actually was like, yeah, no, definitely that, but also like you can grow your hamstrings. And that was like a really big thing for him. Which I was super happy about because I want to be able to grow. Like I don't want to be the girl that they have to tell to shrink. And so like this off season's been going really well because my food's up and I've been lifting heavy and I can already tell that I'm putting on muscle. Like my weight's been going up, but as far as like my check-ins, like I feel like I'm still looking relatively lean. So that's how I know I'm like building the right type of size, if that makes sense,
Hmm.
and like that density. And so yeah, a little bit different, but not like different in the way that I would like be like, oh, they're counteracting. Like it definitely all ties in and goes together. So I'm pretty much just gonna aim to like grow evenly all around, if that makes sense, but then emphasize those target areas that they're super big on, like your glute hamstring tie-in, like your upper glute. Um, Definitely like the inner thighs. Like I think when I went to the Arnold and I saw the girls on stage, and that was when I was like, you know what, like their adductors look really good up there. And I want mine to look like that.
Yeah.
So that's been that. And yeah, just like posing adjustments, things like that. Um, but yeah, everything's been like pretty much in line with
That's
the
really cool to hear. I like hearing the different feedback from different judges and what people say because, one judge might tell you you need to grow, and then another judge might tell you what specifically needs to grow.
Mhm.
So it's kind of nice to get that feedback. Well, it is very nice to get that feedback. Now, and you're obviously putting in a lot of that work to get it. I want to now ask you for your best advice. So, what would be your best advice for somebody who has never competed before but wants to? And then your best advice for somebody who's on their road to pro?
Ooh, okay. Um, hmm. I feel like if you've never competed before but you want to, my best advice is to find a good coach. Like a coach that when I say a good coach, like I feel like that could be different things for different people, right? So I always say finding a coach is like finding a therapist. You have to find somebody who like you can communicate with, and not only that, but you feel comfortable with. If you fall off plan on a day, or if you don't like the way you look in the mirror and you have to send a check-in anyway, you want to have someone you can be open with and you feel comfortable
Mhm.
asking questions because there's no silly question when you're getting into this or even ever, I still have questions for my coach. And so finding someone you're comfortable with and also someone who cares for you outside of bodybuilding. Um, they care more about your success as an individual than your success on stage. That's huge. Like if they only care about, having X amount of pros, X amount of first place, you can't, they might put you in a place where you're going to have to push your body to a level that you should.
Exactly.
Um, I my coach will never push anything like without having a conversation, whether it be something in training or diet or cardio. Like it's always like, how do you feel about making this adjustment? How are you feeling? Um, and like especially when it comes to performance enhancing drugs and talking about that and that conversation. I mean, being a new athlete, I don't think anyone should be considering taking that. When like, step on stage, see where you're at, like see what your hormones are, like try to, like you want to reach full natural potential. And there are so many natural shows that Chris Hollingsworth's putting on this year too, especially like shout out to him.
Are you going to come to any of them?
Oh, hopefully, yeah, I'll be at like
Come to the May 3rd one.
okay.
I'll be competing there. So if you can
Gosh, okay.
that one.
Yeah, yes, no,
Awesome.
totally
Love to
will.
see you again.
Because they're all super close. But with that being said, like find a coach that like cares about your success and what you want, what your goals are. Because there are some girls that their goal is to go to the Olympia, and there are some girls that their trophy is just standing there and looking good. And like you have to approach every athlete differently. So I'm a very like I try to find a coach that I can talk to about everything and anything because like that's who I am. That's what I but there's some coaches that, or there's some athletes that want a coach that's like kind of more hands off. And it's just like checking in. How are you? Right. So finding someone that balances all those things. That's my best advice. I
For
think that's,
someone new to competing, is that also for Road to Pro, or would you say anything else for someone on their Road to Pro?
I mean, that definitely applies always.
It
I
does.
think
Yeah.
always. Road to Pro, I would say don't expect anything. don't don't ever get in your head one way or another, like don't expect that you're getting it, but also don't think you're not getting it. Go into it completely open-minded, knowing that like I mean, like your body changes so much that week before a show that like you look in the mirror and you're like, wow, I can't even believe this is me. Right. And so like you've already achieved getting to a national stage. That's an achievement. That's a huge achievement.
Mm-hmm.
Being there is a huge accomplishment. And like I said, with my universe show, like I was just happy to be there. So being fully present in every moment, like really truly taking it all in and like not having those expectations is huge, and just being happy for you and the packages that you bring. Don't compare yourself. Don't even look at like other girls like leading peak week, like unless it's like you're being supportive on social media, you're like,
Exactly.
oh, good, that's one thing. But if you find that you're comparing yourself to others, then like don't look at it, don't do it, it's not worth it. And like just because someone looks good one day doesn't mean what their package is going to look like, doesn't mean what the judges are looking for. And you're your own biggest critic too, so like you must be exactly where you need to be, but then you're stressing yourself out, psyching yourself out, and now we're holding water, now we're doing these other things. So yeah, just know your moment will come if you want to achieve that status. I truly do believe that everybody can get there. Might take different timelines. Like just because I got there quick doesn't mean everybody's going to get there quick.
Yeah.
Don't push yourself to anything crazy to get there quick. Allow it to be a process. And if other people around you are finding success, support them. And when it is your turn, they will support you. And I think like that's the beauty in it, is just like don't isolate, just like elaborate on how amazing this community is, and it'll get you a lot further.
Love that so much. Like it really encapsulates and captures, it summarizes everything that you've shared today. And I'm so grateful for all of your insight, especially your vulnerability and your willingness to share not just what you've experienced, but even what you still sometimes struggle with, because I can't even tell you, Alyssa, how refreshing that is. I have so many clients who are like, well, the pros don't struggle, the pros don't struggle, the pros. I'm like, they are struggling. Trust me, like they're still
Like
people.
the look on my face when my coach was like, I was like, so like, what's the plan for He's like, well, I mean, you're a pro now. And I'm like, yeah. So like, what do you, he's like, well, I mean, like, we're going to up your food, but like, this is what's going to look like. And I was like, oh,
Oh, that's good.
okay. Yeah. Wait. Okay. Yes. Like, I get that.
Sure.
But also, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Like
that's
it was,
right.
I'm a baby when it comes to that. I just got my pro card. Like, I'm still taking it in.
Awesome.
Like, I'm still very much like, I haven't stepped on that stage yet. So for me,
Yeah,
my head, I'm the same as any other athlete. I am
right.
like, there is no difference between me and there never will be. I mean, I could be an Olympian and I'm still going to look at myself the same way that I look and respect every athlete in this sport because I
Love
truly think
that.
we're all people. We all have our struggles. We all have our great moments and you can't control who shows up on show day. So there are people that have that pro physique and they just don't have the card. And I stand beside that and they still deserve to have that
So
card.
true.
They deserve to have that card. I know so many girls I follow on social media that I'm like, love the way she looks. Just because she doesn't have a pro title doesn't mean that she's any lesser than anybody else. Um, yeah, it's super important that like I think Tyler said it best at the posing seminar I went to, and I like he said this, and I just my jaw just fell. I was like, that yes, because I don't know about you, but I think we all kind of like will look at different shows, whether it be amateur, national, pro, doesn't matter, and be like, they're looking for harder girls, they're looking for softer girls. Why are they
Mm,
not consistent? The judging's not consistent this year, right? And then you start to like be like, well, what should I look like? Now I'm
mhm.
confused. Like the girl that won that show, she's shredded, but then that girl's a little softer. So what do they want, right?
Yep.
Um, and Tyler was talking about that, and he was like, "Yeah, you look at the Olympia, and okay, sure, you can look at who wins the Olympia and be like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about these other shows, like they might be critiquing, they're only critiquing what they see. Every girl in that class, they might not have someone that meets the criteria perfectly. So like
Exactly.
pick the best. Someone has to take the trophy at the end of the day. Someone has to take that first.
Exactly.
So don't compare yourself and just know what the bikini, proportional top to bottom. I mean, like sometimes like it doesn't matter. You could be the most muscular person on stage, but if you're not proportional and if your posing's not there and if confidence isn't there and all these things aren't aligning, it won't matter. So
Exactly.
we're not competing to look the best. We're competing to fit the criteria.
That's it. I
We
think
all
that's
look best,
putting
like we
it.
all look amazing, right? But it's like, what's the criteria? They're not judging you for you. They're judging you based on a criteria that was written.
Absolutely. I love that perspective. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. It's like this is your best, and also like you just try to meet the criteria and they will award accordingly. And that's okay because you still got, you still did what you needed to do.
Yeah.
So, how can people connect with you, follow your journey, work with you, all that stuff?
So my Instagram is just my name, Alyssa Frietchen. Same with my TikTok. Sometimes I make silly little TikToks.
Huh.
And I have a link in my bio for posing sessions. I do virtual and in person if you're local. And when I travel, sometimes I'll meet up with people. So you never know. I love
Nice.
travel. That's like my favorite thing. So you will always catch me traveling somewhere. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much my main source. I don't have like a website right now or anything like that. Um, but yeah, you can find me on there. DM me. I'll respond. I'll probably give you my number and we can be friends.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah.
awesome. Oh, well, I love that so much. And I can attest to the fact that you're incredibly friendly and kind, and it is so wonderful to meet you in person and then to be able to connect and talk like this in depth was Awesome. And I want everybody to be able to connect with you. So we'll put that information in the show notes page. You guys, that's always on celestial.fit/podcast. Not only will you see how to connect with us, but you'll also see a complete episode summary, bulleted list of the topics we covered, as well as episode timestamps so you can go back, listen to your favorite parts, share it with your friends, your family, your teammates, let them know what resonated with you. And of course, tag us on social media that you listened or what your takeaways were. That always means so much to me, but even more to the athletes who come on and share so openly. So, all that being said, Alyssa, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, it was likewise, it was so nice meeting you at the posing
Uh-huh.
seminar. And when I heard your story too, I mean, you had me actually crying. Like, I don't know if you saw, I'm very emotional, but just like I admire your vulnerability and I admire your
Thank
journey
you.
so much. And you're so inspiring as well. So
You?
I'm glad that you wanted me to be on this podcast and that we got to talk. And yeah, moving forward, I hope to see you at more events and
Absolutely.
get together or something for
That
sure.
would be awesome. Yeah, honestly, thank you for your kind words and support too. It means a lot to me. And
Yeah, 3 days out, you're gonna kill it. I'm so excited.
I think by the time this goes live, let me see. By the time this episode goes live, I'll actually be a week out from that May show that we're gonna hopefully see each other at. I don't know, just text me or something. But um all that being said, you guys, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this episode. Just make it awesome.